We have Chrissie Mayr with
Mayor, but it's fine.
Mayor.
He mispronounces my name on the show every week. So.
That's intentional, though.
It's not going to happen.
Nerdrotic.com.
So what got you into comedy? How did you, is it something you've wanted to do like your entire life, or did you just kind of fall into it? How did you get here?
At first, I really wanted to be a reporter. So I spent a lot of time in college, like getting rid of my Long Island accent, which comes back every time I drink. So you're in luck. And then I had an internship at Dateline. You guys remember Stone Phillips back in the day?
Yeah.
Well, I got a load of him, and he was extremely boring. And
when you say you got a load,
I was going to say, like,
I did.
Like follow-up question, like you got a load of him?
I got a Stone load. Yeah.
Okay.
No loads from Stone. I had to do a lot of printouts, and then I was like, "Oh, this is so boring." And then I got an internship at Conan when he was still in New York, and then I realized comedy people are my people. And then I did 5 years of improv in New York City after college at the UCB and the Magnet, and then I did a one-woman show. And then I was like, "All right, improv is kind of." It's a pain in the ass. You got to rent a room, rent a coach. There's like 5 to 8 of you. So I started stand up in March of 2010. And I guess that's it. You're all caught up now.
Well, with the stand-up thing, I mean, I have a little bit of experience with comedians. I did like a year of it at the comic shop. So they would come in and do a live show in the comic shop, and I started hanging out with some of them. You're a strange lot. You're a very strange lot that I liked a lot. Well, I mean, the neurosis in comedy is very high, we'll just say. I've always been a huge fan, right? What's been happening to comedy over the last, say, 10 years is it's really sucked. Because the PC shit was kind of coming in 2015, has that been like a problem for you, or have you always been like, I don't give a shit, I'm kind of a free speech comedian, not buying into this woke shit, or is it something that you just started noticing going on through your career?
It really was a whole journey, because and I've said this on other like pods, but like out of college, I was a straight up like feminist, huge lib, Democrat, like the whole 9 yards. So when I started stand up, I was like living in Brooklyn. I was like kind of a perfect cutout to be a female comic. I like hated men. I lived in Brooklyn. I just was like, in my small group around me, nobody was challenging any of my thoughts or feelings on anything. Voted for Obama once. The second time he ran, I really had to go to yoga, so I didn't vote for anybody. And then, even in 2016, I was like, Jill Stein, I guess. But I didn't really, I didn't like Hillary. I didn't truly realize how like evil she was really till like maybe 2018. It was a slow like cracking open process. And then in 2018, I also met Larry Sharpe, who was the libertarian candidate for governor for New York. And he really opened my mind up and changed who I thought I was. I was like, oh, wow, I can't identify as part of this group anymore. Like, I don't know if it was taking quizzes or just talking to him. I was like, oh, wow, I really just want people to like stay out of my fucking way and let people like live their lives. So maybe I'm more libertarian. And then when I started to see like the assault on free speech in comedy, that's what like really activated me to like try and be an example. And it's helped inspire me to be like more brave with like even with Twitter jokes and just through being kind of canceled a couple times. Like one time there was even like a fellow New York City female comic who tried to cancel me because she was just upset with how I made fun of her. Like, we're all public figures in a sense, like we're vulnerable to parody, but she just like, she got butthurt because I did an impression of her on a show that she walked off of because it was like a conversation about like Halloween costumes and she was like, oh, I think no one should wear like a Native American costume. She got upset. And I was like, I can't, all the fans of Compound Media were like, I can't believe this girl's a comedian. Like, she's really uptight. One fan was like, she could use a railroad spike in the keister. And then she interpreted that as a legit rape threat. And she was like, oh, Chrissie Mayr is encouraging these rape threats. And she is a prime example. This happened in 2018. She was a prime example of somebody who took advantage of the Me Too movement selfishly to lift herself up and all of her fans. She had like a 15-minute Comedy Central special at the time. So at the time, she had a better like credits than me. So a lot of the other comics kind of rallied behind her because that's like the right thing to do. But nobody knew the whole story. Nobody watched the full impression I did. And since somebody said, oh, you could use a railroad spike in the keister, I mean, that's a hilarious thing to hear. And I was like, where does somebody even get a railroad spike in 2018? You know, like that's a rare find.
Just the logistics of that.
Yeah.
They didn't have the full context of the railroad spike rapist.
Yes.
I mean, that's all. Yeah.
So I went in after she left the show. I went in once to impersonate her with like just a wig with bangs, and it was like really quick. And then after the thing about the railroad spike came up, I was like, let's do one better. So I went into compound on In Hot Water. I wrapped myself in tinfoil, and I was literally like this personified railroad spike, but I was the anti-rape railroad spike. So I was like, I don't want to be up anyone's keister. I'm not about this life. Like, I got a rail at home that I care about very much, and 6 little spikes. You know, I was promoting anti-rape. But since Compound's behind a paywall, again, the fans loved it, thought it was funny. They took screenshots. They're like, oh, Chrissie's so funny as the railroad spike. But then this comic, Kate, and all her friends and, you know, peons, they go, oh, look at Chrissie. She's supporting this, like, raping railroad spike idea. And it just went off the rails, no pun intended. It's just out of control. And these people, like, I think wanted to hate me because I was kind of the only female, like, outspoken female comic in New York City who was just decidedly not on the left. Like, I think I was moving more towards, you know, libertarian, conservative, still just finding myself. But the fact that I wasn't just like a blind, dumb, brainwashed liberal, I think started to bother a lot of people and made me an easy target. And every time you get canceled, it does make you stronger. It does make your skin thicker. And now it's brought me to the point where I'm just like, oh no, I have to be a voice against cancel culture, against, you know, oh, you can't make fun of this. Oh, you can't make fun of that. And it pisses me and so many other comics off. This article just came out about Seth Rogen saying like, oh, well, comics should really be able to admit when their jokes don't age well. Like they shouldn't complain.
Bro,
and I'm like,
what a sellout.
I'm like, you have enough money to never work a day in your life. Like this is what happens when people make so much money. They lift themselves up out of relevance, you know, like they're no longer down here with regular people. And he was never truly a real comic. I think he did a couple mics maybe as a teenager or something. And then look at every movie Seth Rogen has been in. It's like tons of racial stereotypes. And these people Hollywood is just full of hypocrites.
The only way to tell if a joke ages poorly is when people stop laughing. That's
exactly
literally it.
Exactly.
As long as people are still laughing, it's still fucking a joke.
I'm just really happy that nobody has ever taken advantage of the Me Too movement since.
Not a single person ever.
No one's ever jumped on board an outrage train and fucking said choo choo motherfucker. Yeah, no one. Not a single person.
Nope.
Choo choo.
So you start to see more people grow a set of balls now and fight against it in comedy, or are you still seeing a lot of capitulating or conformist behavior?
I think it's slowly. It's always, you know, people in your DMs asking you, like, if I'm so out there, then the people that are questioning know that I'm like a safe person. And by people, I mean like comics who are like afraid to maybe they've, you know, whether it's about a certain medical decision or that's just one example, you know, but if people see me being, I'm so far out there and they're questioning, you know, the mainstream media and they're questioning like the messages they're getting, then they know that I'm like kind of a safe person to ask questions or talk to or be like, hey, what do you think of this whole like passport idea? If I'm as out there as I can be and as bold and as inappropriate, you know, with jokes as I can be, I think it sets a good example for not only other comics, but just like regular people who, even I was doing an interview with Aubrey Huff, who used to play for the San Francisco Giants. He said that like current MLB players are encouraged not to even follow him on any social media. Like they can't even follow him. So if it's that bad, I'm like, you just think about regular everyday people, you know, maybe people at their job or their friends and family are looking at who they follow. Not even if they like or retweet something. Like you can get ostracized just for a follow, and I'm like, man, that really sucks. So I just try to lead by example and just let people know, like, exactly what you said, Ryan. Like, the only bad joke is the one no one laughs at.
If you like what I do here, please consider subscribing to the channel and liking and sharing the videos. It really does help. And if you did this with your favorite YouTuber as well, I'm sure they would appreciate it as much as I do.